Well, hello there all you absolutely magnificent people, and welcome back to another episode of An Ecologist Plays, where we talk about nature while playing games. My name is Will, I'm an ecologist by training, and have been lecturing ecology for about a decade now. Today we are back in Enshrouded, which is a wonderful, wonderful game, and today we are heading out to the Blackmire Marshes. I think that is our plan of action for today. Yes, I do know we still need to rescue the alchemist's assistant. We still need to find Ramon Jones, I think, as well. A few people over there by Pike Meets Reach, but we are going to head over in that direction now. So let's head on over to the fast travel point in the Revel Woods. I think it's almost nighttime though, so this may not be the best time to actually do this, you know. Nonetheless, we are heading in that direction. You can kind of see a tree sticking out behind the mountain over there. So that is indeed where we are heading. Massive, massive trees over there. And it's all in the lowland swamps that we are going to have a look at now. Of course, as we are heading over to the Blackmire Marshes, this is a good time to also mention that if you like seeing this type of content, where it's a bit more educational and we're talking about nature while playing games, please do subscribe to the channel. Always great to welcome more people to the Ecology Squad. Alright, we are heading through the Shroud again. Oh, and we're already under attack by the Fel. We're just going to ignore them. You know, we have places to be, things to do. Wonderful, massive trees to go see. Oh dear, okay, there's a fork in the road. I think left leads to the Flame Sanctum. Right leads out over there. I think we go straight. I think this is the path. No, this is not the path. This is also a path, I think, just out of the Shroud. Yeah, this is also just... Oh, this is actually the Flame Altar. Oh, never mind. Okay. Yeah, might as well grab some sparks while we are here. And of course get this respawn point here. If something happens in our journey, at least we can respawn here. We need to head in that direction. And interesting to note that the big trees here also seem kind of corrupted by the Shroud. So it makes sense that the Blackmire Marshes, the trees would extend into this area. This is a low-lying area as well. But I mean, look at that tree over there. That tree there appears to be one of the big Blackmire Marsh trees, but it is covered with some mycelium there, so it definitely was infected by the Shroud fungus. Alright, we're just going to head in that direction and hope we stay true. There we go. Now this is a new resource as far as I know that we can harvest here. We're going to harvest some Blackmire bark, I think it is. There we go, Blackmire bark. Yo, but it is extremely tough. Alright, so why is it so tough? I mean, there has to be a reason for it. Now, very often we do find this thick type of bark on trees that are adapted to fire. Okay, so maybe this is an adaptation to fire. Somehow, I doubt it. This is a marshland environment, and I don't think there is a lot of fire coming through this biome. It's too wet to really burn, so there has to be a different reason for this. Now, in those cases where the thick bark is an adaptation against fire, the reason it helps is the bark on the outside here is actually dead. It consists of dead tissue. So if it does burn, it doesn't actually affect any living part of the plant. The living bark is located inside, beneath this thick bark. The idea then being that when the tree burns or when fire passes through here, this outer bark, which very often is very spongy and has a lot of air pockets in it, it's actually surprisingly difficult to burn. It doesn't burn through and through because it's got air pockets in there, and it's a very spongy type of bark. Think cork, for example. Cork is a good adaptation. It looks very similar to what we see here. It's this airy, openish type of bark. And it is an adaptation against fire in the environment that it occurs in. But if not a fire survival adaptation, why do the trees here have this thick bark? We'll get to that when we actually head into the proper marshes. There we go, just another terrain we can harvest though. Foliage, much softer, much easier to actually mine than the Blackmire bark we just mined here. I do have some ideas for what I want to use the foliage for, but we'll get to that when we actually have our botanical garden set up. And that is going to be the second major project. The first project is to actually build my little hobbit house. That is still in the works. I still haven't actually started with that. I need to find the time to do that. But of course, I'm going to still build that. And then the second big project, which I will start soon as we find a good spot in the Nomad Highlands, well, that is going to be the Botanical Gardens. Alright, it is nighttime now, so let's head back to our base, let's sleep, and I'll meet you back here in a moment. And it is morning again, but before we head out, two things. First, the blacksmith here, Oswald Anders, is giving us the quest for the Hearts of Iron, and he is sending us to the Ridgeback mine in the Nomad Highlands. Well, that is still going to be a while away before we do that. But the second thing, we can actually strengthen our flame. We've got everything we need. As you can see, I have killed the wisp within a few more times, and I have 5 heads to use. I could actually put one up as decoration if I wanted to. But we've got all the other things we do need, and we're just going to strengthen the flame. And to strengthen it again, we need a few things from the Nomad Highlands. We need to destroy the fell monstrosity, we need rooibos, which I'm excited to actually see in the game. We need tin, we need ammonia glands, we need fossilized bone, and we need the mint mushroom meat. And all of those things we'll start getting next time. Right, and now it's time to head back. And here we are where we ended the previous day. Let's head on down into the Blackmire Marshes. So the reason why the Blackmire Marshes is here is, I guess, because it is just low-lying areas. And a lot of water will be running down from the surrounding landscape, from the higher-lying areas, down into where the Blackmire Marshes actually are. And you can see here lots and lots and lots of bubbling mud. I'm not sure whether this is... yeah, this is not the one that actually traps you completely. This isn't a tar. This is just very deep mud over here. It does make walking a little bit more challenging. It is, however, home to Snapjaws, and the Snapjaws are these big crocodilian reptiles. I'll have a look when we see one in a moment. And of course, there are bridges all along here to try and cross it, and there's little trampolines you can also see there to make your way through the Blackmire Marshes. But you can see here this mud running downhill. This would be a waterfall during high rainfall events. Oh, wow. I don't think I've ever seen this site. This is gorgeous. That is a true mire. So mire just being a large stretch of boggy or marshy soil, which that over there definitely is. Let's have a closer look, shall we? Oh yes, marvelous. Now this appears to be the type of marsh that you will get stuck in if you stand still. Yeah, this is indeed. So if you are in the deeper area, if you're not actually standing on one of the corpses, if you're one of the deeper areas, you're going to sink in and get stuck. This appears to be a tar-like substance that is here. Very, very sticky. A sticky situation, which also is a good description with mire. If you are in a mire, then you are, in a sticky situation. But look at that. There is a Snapjaw. And of course, we have got the Calm Spirit skill, which means that they shouldn't attack us unless we attack them first. There we go. So, I don't know, it almost looks as though they don't really have true teeth. Instead, just projections from their jaws that act like teeth. Of course, they are predators, and they'll be waiting around here in the marshes for prey to come down to the water to drink, and then, of course, they will just grab them and drag them into the depths of the mire, possibly drown them, and then just rip them apart. Typically what crocodiles would also do. They would of course be very good swimmers, and when you have a look at them, if we can see this little one, if it just pops up again, there we go, you can see all the scales point backwards. Okay, all the scales pointing backwards means that they are quite streamlined. Okay, they don't have any scales sticking forward or straight up. Instead, all the scales are pointing to the back, which is an important adaptation if you want to spend most of your time in water. And it seems as though they spend most of their time, in fact, in the water here. I don't think I have ever seen them out of the water. Ooh, interesting. We can see here, this is a piece of bark that has fallen off. So either the tree died and there's just a piece of bark here, or the trees here occasionally shed their older bark and you've got your newer bark being produced underneath there. But look at this lighter color. This is, this could be heartwood. Let's have a look if we mine this with, this is actually Blackmire, this is Blackmire heartwood. Now, heartwood would refer to the inside part of a tree. It's actually not really this part here. This would still be sapwood. So if you were to cut through a tree, let's say you take that tree up there and you cut through it. First of all, you'll have your outer bark. So on the outside here, you've got your bark, your outer bark. Then you've got this section over here. You can see where this outer bark meets this lighter color here. This is where the vascular cambium is located. This is the tissue where new phloem and new xylem, where that will be formed. So phloem is produced to the outside of the vascular cambium, and the xylem is produced to the inside of that vascular cambium. So the phloem right over here will be transporting sap. So that is, of course, very important. It brings, as the plants photosynthesize and the leaves produce sugars, that goes down along this phloem over here. That goes to the roots and it can then be redistributed to the rest of the plant. The xylem, on the other hand, which are the vessels to the inside, the typical wood we see, that will transport water and minerals and stuff from the roots up. And it consists of dead tissue. So initially it is living, and then it dies and it hollows out, and then it forms like these straws. But this would still be sapwood. If the sap is still flowing, then it is sapwood. So right over here, this is the newest xylem. This would actually still be sapwood. But then to the center of a tree, if you ever look at the stump and you see like lighter wood on the outside, and then towards the center of it, you'll see dark wood. That dark wood there in the center of the stem, that would be heartwood. It's at the heart of the stump. And there, resin and sap and all kinds of stuff would have clogged up the xylem, meaning it can no longer transport any water or minerals or anything like that, but it is tougher, it is stronger. It provides some rigidity to the stem. So it's got a purpose. But yeah, this is quite cool. We can actually get heartwood right over here without having to dig through the outer bark of any of these big trees, and without heading into the VUCA village, which if you don't have the VUCA language skill, you've got to fight a lot. But if you've got the VUCA language skill like I do, then you don't have to fight as much. That is quite cool. Alright, we're just going to make our way down again. It's getting quite dark in here. It's not nighttime, it's just, murky in the Blackmire Marsh forests. Let's see, have we got scavengers? No, we've got VUCA. Hello, VUCA. Hello, friends. Yeah, you're all fine. You have heard that I am friend, not food, nor am I enemy. I am friend. Hello, guys. Oh, it's lovely to be able to walk amongst them without them attacking me. Hello. A very interesting society. Now, this is actually a good spot for them to set up a little checkpoint in essence over here, because I think this is the main way into the Blackmire Marshes, this road that goes along here. And for them, as a culture, it would be very useful to know which other VUCA are coming in and out of their territory, and, to keep out unwanted visitors, and also, to make sure that people like us don't come into their kingdom, in essence. Now, whether they built this or whether this was already here before they moved in, I don't know. It is possible that humans set up the checkpoint there and they just took it over. But it could also very well be that they are able to build these structures. Now, I do see we do have scavengers here. I forgot we have got scavengers over here as well. So before we head on in, I've got skill points, 8 skill points that I can spend. So I'm going to take Marksman over here, which increases my ranged weapon damage by 10%. I'm going to take Sharpshooter here, another... Hello, am I under attack now? I thought I was under attack. I heard a noise there. I thought I was under attack. Anyway, apparently not. So I've got Sharpshooter now, another 20%. I'm then going to take Skill Shot here, which increases my Skill Shot damage. So that's another bit of damage, another 20% damage if I get headshots. Now the question is, where to? Let's have a look what is up here. Scavengers. A whole bunch of scavengers. Okay. Let's see what is down here. Probably more scavengers. Okay. We're just going to, I guess, travel down. I mean, we are in the marshes. We may as well have a look at the marshes. Why don't we? Now, normally I think you'd have to worry about the Snapjaws over here. Yeah, like that one over there. But, they're friends. We don't have to worry about them. We may at some point just take out one. There is, in fact, quite a high concentration of them in this area. Maybe we should at least just take out one, just so we have access to reptile leather and possibly whatever recipes that unlocks. Okay, so we're going to do that. Now, interesting, they are able to throw mud at us. I mean, you've got the resources to throw mud. Why not throw mud? So taking the mud, it's going to actually dig through the soil and pop up here, I guess. Yeah, there we go. There it is. Very, very thick hide would make them not quite invulnerable to arrow fire, but quite resistant to it. Of course, gulping in mud and then shooting it out at us. And this is the danger of the Snapjaws. They are very agile in the mud and able to move underwater here without us realizing where they are moving. And if you are a prey animal coming down to drink a bit of water here with them in the mud here, just on the edges here, well, they are able to sneak up on you, no problem. Let's have a look. We can kind of see a whole bunch of spikes on the tail there. Very thick, very strong tail. Very well developed limbs as well. A little bit difficult to see, but yeah, webbed feet indeed as well. Which makes sense. If you are an aquatic animal, you would prefer having webbed feet. Ah, there we go, VUCA over here. Now we are friendly with the VUCA, so this is actually the route we are going to take. Rather than taking our chances with the scavengers, let's head through the area where the VUCA are. VUCA language and calm spirit, I think, are very underrated skills. But they are two skills I tend to grab as soon as I can, because it just makes traversal and exploration so much easier. Yeah, I can then focus on other things rather than just fighting my way through here every single time I want to come through here. Of course, it makes sense to have it here with the VUCA and with the lower level animals. It wouldn't make sense, I think, to get a skill to be friendly with the Druk, which we will encounter in the Vale Water Basin much later. Those are crocodilian humanoids, and there's a really bad history between them and the humans. So it wouldn't make sense that you'd be able to now be friends with them. So I like the fact that the Druk will attack us when we get to them. They will still attack us. But the VUCA, we can kind of still reason with. And even the animals here, little piggies, all the animals here, they are fine with us. Now, in all honesty, I don't really know where I'm heading. I'm just going downhill and following the road, actually going downhill, which I think is a good strategy to use. Somewhere there will be an ancient spire. I don't know where that is. We have got helping hands coming up, so maybe we should actually head in that direction. Helping hands being to get the carpenter's aunt, Aunt Braylon, who he named the bridge after. Braylon Bridge near Longkeep, he named after Aunt Braylon, his aunt. She was a nice explorer and loved doing all kinds of wonderful things. Ah, here we go. We've got some hornets as well, and there we go. Should be fine. Yeah, indeed, it is 100% fine with us. And it looks pretty much like a hornet's nest here, but this isn't actually a hornet's nest. This is, I think, mushroom. Let's see, yeah, there we go. Mushroom flesh one can harvest from these weird nodules on the tree trunks here. It would kind of make sense, or not actually on the tree trunks, that's growing solidly on the rock. Interesting that it's growing on the rock like that. I really thought they were growing on trees. Could be that they are growing on trees as well. That one just happens to also attach onto a rock. Huh. It is saying location below. Ah, probably down here. Oh, it's a hidden temple. Okay. Let us explore a bit. Indiana Jones style. Ooh, secret door. Let's have a look. Oh, okay. Let's have a look here. Okay, so there's basically secret doors. But apart from that, it doesn't seem as though there's anything significant in this one here. We did find that writing by Aunt Braylon, so that is nice. So I guess what we'll do is we'll just follow the melody. I think that is the quest we are on. Aha, wonderful, interesting little plants here. If you jump on them, boing, you jump into the air. So little trampoline plants in essence. So why on earth would he do this? Okay, so let's have a look. What it seems to be doing. Okay, so you've got the leaves. This appears to just be a massive flower. You know, it reminds me very much of Rafflesia, which is a parasitic plant, and you only ever see the flowers. It doesn't have any leaves, and it has these massive flowers. Now, Rafflesia, they don't, bounce you up into the air if you happen to step on them, but this plant does. This trampoline plant, whatever it is called. But these plants here, they are most likely also parasitic, growing on some of the larger trees that are in the area, on these typical Blackmire trees, the big ones we see all over the marshes. And that means they don't have to spend any energy growing lots of roots to take up nutrients. They don't have to worry if there's a drought. They just steal water from the plant they are growing on. They don't have to worry about obtaining nutrients. They just steal it from the plant they are growing on. They can put all their resources towards flowering. So they are then able to produce these big flowers over here. But why do they do this when you step on them? The reason may lie in the fact that you can see the purple glow, those little sparkles. That's most likely pollen entering into the air. Now, just doing it like this, just pumping some pollen into the air, sure, that's going to get pollen into the air a bit. But if you can contract a bit, if you can contract your flower and actually shoot the pollen higher up into the air, it may disperse a little bit better. Or alternatively, if you can get the pollen stuck to something that is climbing onto you and you then yeet them all over the place, you are dispersing your pollen further. So I think this is in fact a pollen dispersal strategy. Because every time it contracts, it shoots this cloud of pollen higher up in the air than it would otherwise be able to shoot. So I really think that this is a pollination strategy. It could also have been, if it were doing this with its leaves, it would be to try and prevent herbivory, so prevent something eating it. But it's not doing it with the leaves, it's doing it with the flower, and it seems to produce this cloud, this puff of pollen every single time it puffs like that. Yeah, I really think that is the way it is using to disperse pollen. Now, of course, this means that it is most likely wind pollinated because it is producing, as you can see here, masses and masses and masses of pollen. Additionally, it is puffing it into the air and it is then blowing all over the place. So wind pollination then. But as you can see here from a distance, it is glowing even in the dark here. So it most likely has a backup plan. It most likely also attracts moths to it to try and get moths to actually pollinate it as well. I wonder whether it's the ancient spire that is up here. I think it is. But how do we get there? That is now the main question. Maybe this little puffy plant has something to do with that. Maybe we head up over here. Hello, VUCA friends. Oh, there is a silver chest here, but I don't see a way up. At least there's a road. Let's follow the road, shall we? You know what? This is a little bit difficult to do in the dark. So what we're going to do is we're going to set up a flame altar. Just going to plop that down here, and we'll be back when it's morning. It is morning. We are back in the Blackmire. Let's head on over to where the ancient spire hopefully is. Now, supposedly it is right up here. It's just a question of how do we get up there. Now, interesting that this biome, the Blackmire Marshes here, have a lot of similarities with the Revelwood. You can see very similar plants. You can also see clay veins like we had in the Revelwood. You've got very similar animals with the boars as well being present here. But of course it does have its own animals and plants as well. In terms of plants, that bouncy-bouncy plant there, that is unique to this area. Generally, I think there are some in the Shroud in other areas as well. But most of it is found here in the Blackmire Marshes. And in terms of animals, we of course have Snapjaws, which are unique to the Blackmire Marshes. Now, yeah, I don't know how I'm going to get to where I'm supposed to go, so I'm going to make my own way. I can make my own way. Just going to mine our own business up here. Definitely one of the many strong points of this game. You see a point, you want to go there, you can mine your way up there. And there we go. Now I'm sure there is a path leading up to where we were supposed to go. There we go, there's the path. Righty. So here we go, the Blackmire Marshes Ancient Spire. And I'll meet you at the top. And there we go, as if by magic we have reached the top. And now let's quickly head on over to where we can rescue the bard. Because she is somewhere to this side. It's interesting, there's this whole sunken city over here. There is Dangerous Shroud, there is Deadly Shroud beyond that. So we're not sure whether this city was actually built in the marshes or whether the marshes came later. But that is the typical sunken city, the ruins that you've got over here. Now we need to get in here. 3 buttons to push. I believe the first one is right over here to this side. There we go. Indeed, right over here. And I'm guessing the other 2 are possibly in the ruins on that side. So what we're going to do is, instead of trying to traverse everywhere, let's fly there, shall we? Let's have a look. It looks as though this tower could be important. Let's head on over to here. Aha, I see a yellow glow. There we go. Just like that. And I'm guessing maybe to this side as well. Oh dear, we can't. We couldn't make it there. Let's see, maybe we can run up the tree trunk here. There we go, just running up the tree roots here. And there we go, another button to push. I think that should open it up, if I'm not mistaken. So let's head on over. Yeah, there indeed, it seems to be open. Ooh, there's a golden chest up there. A higher level wand, that is gonna be great. And let's head down to grab the bard. Hello, Valory. Oh no, oh, there we go. I thought it was locked. Hello, Valory. And now we'll have the medium backpack and more being coming available. And well, I think that is it in terms of the Blackmire Marshes. Yes, we can come and explore a bit later again, and we can chat more about the tar and how that forms and why it is such a sticky bog. But I mean, look at all these big trees. We are, of course, going to come back for the Vuka village, which is, I think, to this side. And we're going to get Aunt Braylon as well. But I think that will be another time. I think when we set up our botanical gardens, we will come back to the Blackmire Marshes again. And then we'll grab Aunt Braylon and we'll come and say hello to the Vuka again and do all those lovely things. But I think for now, it's a great time to also end today's episode. So thank you very much, everyone, for joining me on a little adventure here. Hope you had fun. Very little combat in today's episode, surprisingly. Chatting a bit more about the Snapjaws and the other things we encountered. And of course, we rescued Valory, which is very, very important. So if you've got any questions, please pop them down in the comments below. Also, if you haven't yet, please do subscribe. It really helps the channel out. And it's always marvelous to see the channel grow and to welcome more people to the Ecology Squad. And until next time, everybody, stay safe. I'll see you all soon. Cheers.